Do you remember the last time you were made a joke right in front of others? The whole room laughed except you. Your face burned, your heart froze, and deep down you knew it would replay in your mind for years. But that's far from the end, because to a Machiavellian, humiliation isn't the finish line, it's the opening move. They don't lash out, they don't flee, they observe. They do what most people can't, allow the humiliation to happen without reacting. Why? Because they understand one crucial truth. The person who insults you is not the real target. The crowd is. In every public humiliation, what matters isn't what was said, it's who saw it and how they'll retell it. And that's when you must learn the first technique of Machiavellian reversal. Don't respond to the blow, respond to the audience. What scares people is not shouting, it's silence. The silence of someone who's just been insulted and doesn't flinch. No explanation, no defense, just a look and a faint smile. In the next part, you'll learn how to turn that look and that cooled smile into a weapon, and how the one who mocked you becomes the one begging for redemption in silence.
You didn't react. You didn't flinch. Good. That was the first step. But now, it's time to take control. Machiavelli understood, when you're humiliated, the attacker isn't your real enemy. The crowd is. Or rather, their perception is. That's the battlefield. The attacker thinks they've won because they got a laugh. But it's not about the laugh. It's about what comes after. The silence, the shift, the feeling in the room when the victim doesn't act like a victim. This is where the real game begins, because now your job isn't to fight the person. It's to fracture their power in the eyes of the room. And you do it without raising your voice. You don't throw back an insult. You throw back a mirror. You reframe their jab as desperation, a need to perform. You say, that's a lot of performance for so little impact. Or, it's revealing how badly you needed to say that. You're not defending yourself. You're exposing their weakness, their need to humiliate to feel powerful. And now the crowd looks at them differently. They went too far. They wanted to win too badly, and that's never attractive. Pause for a moment. This is psychological judo. You don't stop the attack. You let it overexpand, then collapse under its own weight. Next time someone mocks you in public, don't take the bait. Let them speak. Let them try to shine. And then, when the moment is right, drop one cold lie, the kind that turns laughter into silence. Because silence is the beginning of control.
Sometimes the insult lands. They mock something real, a failure, a scar, a mistake you actually made. And in that moment, most people panic. They deny. They explain. They scramble to rebuild the image the crowd just saw crumble. But a Machiavellian, he doesn't dodge. He owns it. And not in weakness, in dominance. Yes, I failed. Yes, it happened. And I'm still here while you're still reaching. This tactic isn't about shame. It's about stealing the attacker's weapon before they get to swing it again. Because here's the truth. If you control how your flaw is revealed,
it can't be used against you. They say you were bankrupt once. Say it first. They joke you were dumped. Say it before they do. And then stare straight through them without blinking. You're saying, I know what I am, but you're still trying to find power in things I've already survived. When you own your flaw, you become untouchable. Because the crowd doesn't pity the one who admits. They admire the one who endures. Let your scars show, polished, cold, unapologetic. Because when you weaponize your flaws, you turn shame into armor.
When someone mocks you, they believe they've scored. A quick jab, a clever line. The room chuckles. But what they don't realize is that they just told you who they are. A Machiavellian doesn't hear insults. He hears confessions. Why did they choose that moment to humiliate you? Why that insult? Why now? It's not about you. It's about what they're projecting. Their insecurity. Their need to dominate. Their quiet desperation to look strong by making someone else look small. And that's where the reversal begins. You don't defend. You don't react. You reflect. You're trying too hard, they say, and you respond. That's an interesting thing to notice. You speak from experience. They expected resistance. What they got was exposure. That one phrase forces them to explain their attack. Now they're on defense. Now they look petty. Now the room wonders, why did they even say that? You've made them carry the weight of their own hostility. You've made them explain their bitterness. And in doing so, you've flipped the spotlight. When you turn their attack into a mirror, you don't just survive humiliation. You make them walk away wondering what part of them they just revealed.
You know what weakens most people? It's not the flaw. It's the fear that someone else might point it out first. A failure, a past mistake, a visible insecurity. We try to bury it. We pray no one mentions it. Then someone does, and the whole illusion collapses. But the Machiavellian doesn't fear exposure. He walks in already exposed on his own terms. When someone tries to shame you with something real, you do the unthinkable. You take it from them. You own it. You say, yeah, that happened, and I'm still here. Or, they've tried that line before. Still says more about them than me. You don't defend. You don't deny. You simply remove the weapon from their hands before they can swing. Because here's the truth. When you speak your flaw with clarity and calm, it loses its sting. And now you look fearless. You've just told the room, I already fought this demon. What else you got? And people listen differently after that. Because now your scars don't make you small. They make you sharp. They make you dangerous. Let them bring up your past. Let them mention your mistake. You nod and smile, because they think they've exposed you. But all they've really done is show that they've got nothing else.
Before the crowd decides who you are, you must define the narrative. Because the moment you let others frame you, especially in public, you surrender the battlefield before the fight begins. Let's say you are interrupted, mocked, or someone twists your words in front of others. You feel the urge to clarify, to reclaim the truth. But the Machiavellian knows the truth isn't the point, the frame is. And whoever owns the frame owns the room. So you strike first, not with force, but with narrative. You define yourself before they get a chance. You walk into the room not explaining who you are, but embodying it. You make statements that aren't open for debate. I get results. I keep receipts. I only speak when I've already decided. When someone tries to box you in, don't fight it. Step outside the box and say, that frame isn't big enough for me. Because perception isn't about being right. It's about being unshakable. And when people can't label you, they follow you. Next time they come at you with a label, don't argue, redefine, and walk away like the definition was always yours.
You want to know who holds the power in any room? Don't watch the loudest person. Watch the calmest. When chaos strikes, when pressure tightens its grip, most people show their seams. They blink too much. Their hands twitch, their voice rises. Cracks tremble. And that's all it takes. One crack, one signal, suddenly you're not the anchor. You're adrift. You just told the entire room you're breakable. Machiavelli understood composure is perception warfare. The one who seems unbothered owns the narrative. People don't care about your logic. They respond to your energy. When you flinch, they feel it. When your voice betrays fear, they assume guilt. But when you absorb pressure like it's vapor, you become untouchable. They project strength unto you, even if you're boiling inside. This is why kings rehearsed how to sit under threat, why emperors trained to breathe slowly while being lied to. Because control under fire is what builds myth. So how do you win under pressure? You rehearse silence. You train micro-stillness. Someone insults you? Pause. Smile faintly. Tilt your head just slightly. Say nothing. They expect anger. They expect collapse. When you give them neither, they start unraveling themselves. You don't fight pressure. You invert it. The more they escalate, the more still you become. Their noise turns into self-exposure. True power doesn't react. It endures, and then rewrites the memory.
The one who talks the most loses control first. In moments of pressure, the average person explains, they justify, they ramble, and every word, every syllable bleeds power. Machiavelli didn't waste time with long explanations. He gave direction. He knew if you feel the urge to over-explain, you've already surrendered authority, not just over the situation, but over yourself. The moment you start defending your actions to win approval, you give the crowd a verdict. You don't believe in your own decisions. You're begging for their permission. And here's the thing. The crowd doesn't process logic. It reads energy. If you sound nervous, they feel weakness. If you explain too much, they smell guilt, even if you're innocent. That's why kings never offered apologies. That's why emperors made declarations, not discussions. So what should you do when someone challenges your decision publicly, when the pressure builds? Respond with stillness, with minimal words. Let their silence work for you. Let their imagination torment them more than your explanation ever could. Say, "It made sense to me," or "We'll see how it plays out." Or even better, say nothing. Just smile. Because silence in public is a kind of warfare. It forces the crowd to fill in the blanks, and people never fill in those blanks with weakness. They fill them with mystery, danger, authority. Over-explaining is for those who seek permission, but legends don't explain, they act.
Rejection stings. It always has. But the moment you let that sting show in public, you've lost. Remember Sanad Memru. His rejection from Julius Caesar only made him more dangerous. Machiavelli knew rejection isn't the death of power, it's the test of it. The weak respond with bitterness. The powerful? They vanish without a trace. No outbursts, no sarcasm, just absence. When you're left out, replaced, ghosted, passed over, it burns. You want to say something, to let the world know, I noticed. You want to post, to hint, to sting back. But that's not strength, that's neediness in disguise. Because the moment people see that exclusion affects you, they know how to control you. They realize you care too much. You still need their approval. And Machiavelli teaches the person who needs less controls more. Here's what real power does. It doesn't retaliate. It doesn't chase. It disappears. No announcement, no drama, just gone. And in that disappearance, the crowd starts asking, did we lose something valuable? That's the reversal. You don't demand recognition. You become the absence that echoes louder than any complaint ever could. Don't post, don't hint, don't perform indifference. Be indifferent. Let the one who excluded you feel the silence. Let them wonder why it feels heavier now. That's power. The world doesn't punish the silent. It obsesses over them. When you're truly indifferent, you're not just untouched by rejection. You become the ghost they can't stop remembering.
You've been wronged, maybe even humiliated. You feel the truth boiling in your chest. You want to expose them, the leader who betrayed you, the boss who lied, the figure who stood tall by stepping on you. But if you speak now, if you criticize them in public, you don't hurt them. You elevate them. and you burned yourself. Machiavelli would never confront a lion in open daylight. He'd wait for nightfall, for weakness, for silence. Public criticism of someone more powerful than you is not bravery, it's strategy suicide. Because even if you're right, you still lose. Why? Because the audience sees not just your truth, but your ambition. They question your motive. They whisper, is this justice or jealousy? Now, low and predatory. If you truly want to destroy someone above you, don't confront them. Study them. Document the cracks. Wait. And when they stop watching the shadows, that's when you strike. Practical guidance, quiet and precise. Let others throw rocks. Let them take the fall. You stay in the room. You stay useful. And when the time is right, you leak one sentence to one personal at the perfect moment. Let the rot spread. Let the empire fall from within. And if they insult you, if they belittle you from their throne, smile. Say nothing. That silence haunts them. Close. Machiavellian wisdom. The most terrifying move isn't criticism. It's stillness. Because it forces the powerful to ask one question over and over. What is he planning? And why hasn't he struck yet?